Hi there, traders. This is Brad Gilbert with the Daily Market Insight for Monday, the 14th of August. All right, now, as we come into Monday's trading, the PPI numbers out of the US on Friday really showed how sensitive the overall markets are to the US numbers, and in particular, anything related to inflation, right? Stronger producer price index, inflation numbers. We saw the US dollar rally somewhat across the board, and equity markets got a little bit of a pasting there as well. So equities closed the week down. Actually, if I just come across to the global markets, just give you a bit of a look at what's happening there. Now, on the hourly charts, it's hard to sort of see what's going on there on the, say, Dow Jones Mini. You can see S&P's dropping. NASDAQ, as I said, has been held up with all the investment in the AI space. Now, that's starting to sort of crumble a bit. That could put a huge amount of pressure on the downside. So what are we looking for here? Well, the dollar index has started to sort of just creep a little bit higher, right? US Treasury yields a little bit higher as well, even with the Fed at the top of their interest rate hiking cycle, right? So it looks like the market doesn't believe it's over just yet, the Fed hiking cycle. Now, I left the Euro chart here just as it was. You can see here the market's big clean out of the top side, clean out to the downside. I wouldn't be surprised to see it back at 110 as we go through the week. Gold is dribbling downside. Oil seems to be comfortable moving topside, and Bitcoin is still sitting around 29,000. So with the major currencies, right? Well, actually, just before I go to the currencies, just looking at the on the daily charts, right? Where are those long-term trends? Well, you can see the NASDAQ here. This is what I'm sort of really looking at closely, and more using the NASDAQ as a lead-in, right? Not necessarily the key trade. It is looking to sort of break down. If it gets a good breakdown through 15,000, right? All we need is another really good, strong US number. And we've got a bunch of them this week, retail sales amongst a whole heap of others. You'll see the S&P break down through support, as will the Dow Jones. And that move, you can see the dollar index. It's not exactly sort of moving up through resistance yet, but if it gets up through that sort of 103.5-ish sort of level, it's open skies once again. Euro still hugging that support trend line. It just looks like it wants to be belted, but it won't go until we get the right sort of outcomes there, right? So on the daily charts, the trends, okay, they're still there. Everything's still in balance. And if I come over to the currencies, right, this is what you need to be focusing on, I think, this week, because we have key inflation numbers out of the UK, Canada. We've got the RBNZ interest rate meeting with no hike, no change expected, but these instruments are still ready to be sort of hit, right? So the trend in the euro is still up, right? And it is dancing with the devil there. You can see there's been a little bit of a clean out here, that uptrend in sterling, but it's sort of consolidated, hasn't actually sort of fallen down too far from here. And I'll show you the risk reversals on sterling. They are starting to point towards potential. The market's anticipating maybe a slightly higher sterling, even though with that breakdown, Aussie and Kiwi, well, Kiwi sort of leading the charge here. But you know what? If euro and sterling go up, Aussie and Kiwi aren't going to go down that far just at the moment, right? Dollar CAD pushing up against resistance. Now, this is the other one that's going to get a lot of airtime this week. Dollar yen back up towards 145, or back at 145, I should say, not towards it. So this is going to test the resolve of the BOJ, right? I can't see them doing anything just yet. They need to be sort of really pushed into a corner. Now, they've sort of laid the ground rules here and said, okay, look, we will intervene if it keeps going up. The market sort of guessed that 145 is the fair value. Now, one thing that the BOJ could do is, and this is, you know, just with my 35 years of experience, is, okay, they've come out and jawboned it down. Said, we will act if things don't change, right? So what they can do is next is actually come out and give the market a specific level. We think dollar yen fair value is like 130 or something like that, and the market will hit it, right? I think they've got that left to go, right? After that, I think they would intervene sort of physically. So anyway, just keep an eye on that as we go through the week. It's a back burner story, but it could sort of erupt at any stage. You've got the dollar index sort of tracking down, but as we know, sort of finding a hard work at the moment, and dollar Swiss there as well. Dollar Swiss has got a great trend line here as well, as has euro. So looking across these instruments on daily levels, right, medium to long-term levels, we've got some great technical levels to work with. This week is even a little bit better. You take out the non-farm payrolls, you start to get into the core numbers, inflation numbers, retail sales, the real cornerstone numbers, foundation numbers for these economies, and we will find some good levels around that. Now, your hourly charts, just go through and start tuning up your charts to where the current levels are, right? And so then you might be able to find easy entry levels. Going with the trends is preferable. Don't forget, those inflation numbers are the ones that could potentially sort of shift the overall trend, right? So if I just get that calendar up, because there's like, it's a funky week. Now, let me just drag that across. Okay, so just looking at trading economics, all right, so I've just got all the sort of second tier and top tier numbers here. Now, starting the week, this is a great, like a really good week. Unfortunately, I won't be online every day this week. I'm just down the coast a bit with one of the kids' soccer events. So just having a look here, yeah, the Japanese numbers are there. I'm not sort of super keen to follow dollar yen just at the moment, unless we start to hear from the BOJ. We've got the RBA meeting minutes, may give us some insight into what the RBA is thinking about their interest rate hiking cycle. And that's followed up with some Chinese numbers. Now, the Chinese numbers are impacting, very important for the Aussie and Kiwi, for those Australasian traders. Then we come into the European trading session. We've got the UK employment numbers, right? And then the ZEW economic sentiment numbers, and followed up with the Canadian inflation numbers and US retail sales, right? We're going to, like Tuesdays, there's plenty on board, like available, I was going to say on board, ready for everyone in every time zone, right? You don't have to run in and try and trade all these events. Find the instruments that you like technically, the ones that you like trading the best, and then overlay the fundamentals on top. You may get the momentum from these numbers to really give these instruments a push. And the best thing is, right, usually we're waiting for Wednesday, Thursday, or even Friday. This is coming out Tuesday, right? So that gives us like the rest of the week. If we get some serious variance here in some of these numbers, as I said, the US retail sales figures coming out at a great time after the CPI numbers, after the PPI numbers on Friday. We get strong numbers there. The market's going to start talking about the Fed maybe raising rates again, right? So that's what we've got to look forward to. And then we've got all the, then there's more data to follow as we go through the week. You've got the Wednesday, the UK inflation numbers, some employment and GDP numbers out of the Eurozone. Well, building permits, I wouldn't sort of get overly excited about that, but it is an event. The US FOMC minutes, once again, giving us a bit of a deep dive into what the Fed are up to. The Thursday, the employment numbers here in Australia will be the key theme through the Australasian session. And then Friday, Japanese inflation numbers, UK retail sales, and that's pretty much it. So, like, out of all the weeks, right, we sometimes focus, I mean, we do focus very heavily on US inflation numbers, but this week we've got some other countries' inflation mixed in with a whole great sort of tier 2 level data, right? And what I mean by that is this is better because these releases will not see the same level of liquidity come out of the market. So the volatility won't be as dramatic on the releases. You can watch the release, see if there's any variance, look at your charts, get into those technical levels, and just track the market, right? It's more relaxed trading when you don't have a violent economic data release coming out that's just going to, discombobulate and blow things up, even if there's no variance, like say the non-farm payrolls can. So overall, guys, this is probably the best week of the month, right? Okay, with all this level of data and with the technical levels exactly where they are. Now, I'm still like primed on Euro, dollar, Swiss, primarily because they haven't been flushed out yet. I'd say if the dollar index can get up above that second resistance trend line there, then we will see the move on these instruments. Now, sterling here, Aussie and Kiwi have already broken down. Dollar CAD, well, it looks like it wants to go up, but with oil rallying, it's going to be doing it a little bit tough. And the one to watch, the sort of outsider, keep an eye on the yen and the yen crosses, right? This is the market's coming back to challenge the BOJ. Let's just see what they've got to say. Maybe they will give us a specific level. Usually, as I was saying before too, they can come out and just go, you know what, the fair value for dollar yen is say 130. That is very dramatic, and if and it's probably the last resort, because if they come out and say that, and it doesn't move, well, they are in all sorts of trouble. All right, so that's where we are, guys. Massive action-packed week. Get yourself organized with your charts. Check out when these key events are on, even just to make sure if you do have positions that you're not walking into some sort of event where you didn't realize that, say there was some UK employment numbers coming out, you're long or short sterling and you're wondering what's going on. We'll track the fundamentals. That's where the movements come from. The technicals give us great entry levels and direction. All right, guys, that's it from me. As I said, I'll be away this week, so maybe not so many updates. I'll be online, and trying to contribute where I can. Let's just track the week and see how it plays out. Any one of these numbers, a dramatic change can have a big impact across the markets. So make sure you track the numbers as they come out. All right, guys, all the best. Cheerio.